students, I am really happy to meet all of you once again for yet another session in English. Today's class is for class 8. And as you remember, we have been discussing the poem that is All the World's a Stage, written by Shakespeare. If you had gone through my previous video, you would have definitely had an idea as to what Shakespeare is talking about in this poem. The world, according to Shakespeare, is a big and a wonderful stage. And all the human beings who live are just players on that stage. And that's why he says all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. So the world is a stage, and you know the meaning of the word stage. It is a kind of platform or a kind of structure where plays are staged, speeches are delivered, musical performances could be seen. So the stage, according to Shakespeare, is the world itself. So all the world's a stage, and all the men and women, all of us, all the human beings are mere players. And all the men and women merely players. And every man has his entrance and exit. And each of us, we have our entrance at the same time exit. All the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players, and we play our role on this stage. And one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being of 7 stages or 7 ages. One man in his time plays many parts. You see, what is the entrance to the stage? The moment you are born, that very birth is the entrance. So we enter the world, we enter the stage of the world through the birth. And exit, what is the exit? The death is the exit. So you enter through your birth on the stage of the world, and you exit the stage of the world through your death. If you are born, you are to die. The moment we are born, it's decided as to when we would die. And that's why Shakespeare says, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and entrance. And one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. So one man has to play 7 roles. And Shakespeare describes the different roles that a man has to play. For example, in the beginning, we saw at first the infant in the last class, if you remember, I'm just giving you a recap. At first, the infant puking and mewling in the nurse's arms. So the first stage of a man's life, is the stage of the infant. And what does an infant do? What does a small baby, a newborn baby do? Puking and mewling. It starts crying. Mewling is crying. The moment it comes out into this world, the moment the mother picks up the child, the first thing that it does is it cries. Puking and mewling. Sometimes when the mother feeds the child with food, the food may not be digestible. So on that event, or in case of indigestion, the child vomits it. So a nurse looks after the baby. In big houses, in rich families, there are nurses who take care of the babies. So the nurses bring up the baby. Sometimes when the baby is taken by the nurse, due to that indigestion, on account of the indigestion or because of the indigestion, the baby vomits on the nurse's breast. So puking and mewling in nurse's arms. And then the infant begins to grow. Very slowly, day after day, and when it begins to grow, it grows into a child. And the infant, which is now a child, begins to go to school. So Shakespeare describes the second stage, and then a schoolboy, a whining schoolboy. So what does a schoolboy do? He takes up his satchel. And what is the meaning of the word satchel? The bag, the school bag. So the boy puts up the school bag at the back, and very slowly he walks, creeping like a snail. He has a shining morning face, very cheerful to look at, very shining and very happy, but at the same time, he moves to the school unwillingly, because children do not like school, and that is a fact. You just remember when you were a small kid going to LKG, when you were going to school, to sit in your classroom, that is LKG, you did not have the willingness to go. Your mother had to force you, or your father had to force you. They had to entrust you to the teacher who was looking after the class, and then you shouted, screamed, all kinds of actions took place. So that is what the stage is. The boy who goes to a school. So Shakespeare says, and then the schoolboy, whining schoolboy, shining, his face shining like a morning sun, with the satchel and shining morning face, creeping unwillingly to school, creeping like a snail unwillingly to school. So the boy goes like a snail. He moves to school at snail speed, very slowly, not willingly, doesn't have an interest to go to school. He moves to school like a snail. He just creeps, not runs. Now, we come to the other stage. This is the third stage. What is the third stage? And then the lover. So that school-going boy has completed his studies and he has grown up into a young man, a dashing young hero, and obviously he falls in love with his sweetheart. And then the lover, Shakespeare describes the next stage, the stage that is of a lover. And then the lover sighed like furnace. What is a furnace? A furnace is a place where fire is produced. So a furnace is very hot. And Shakespeare compares the face and character of this lover to that of fire. Sighing like furnace, his face is reddish, his cheeks are red, fiery red, because he is so passionate in love with his sweetheart that his face begins to burn like a furnace, burn like the fire that is produced by the furnace. So that's the kind of life a lover leads, and that is the stage of the lover. Sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Woeful. What is the meaning of woeful? Sad. Ballad. You understand what is the meaning of ballad? It is a story written in the form of a poem. I repeat, a ballad is nothing but a story that is written in the form of poem. And this young lover, who's sighing like a furnace, red with the fire of love, wants to please his sweetheart. And therefore, you know what he does? He writes all kinds of poems. Beautiful poems, romantic poems, ballads, and he tries to present these ballads to his mistress or his lover or his sweetheart, we have many terms for that, in order to please her, made to his mistress's eyebrow. So he writes poems and tries to please his sweetheart, his would-be wife, and she's taken up. In order to please her, he writes different romantic poems and presents it. Okay? So first, the infant, then the schoolboy, and now the lover. The third stage is over. Then a soldier. Now that young, dashing, romantic hero becomes a soldier. And this is an opportunity for him to prove his bravery. You know, a soldier is very brave. He sits on a horseback, or he has a gun in his hand, okay, a machine gun, okay, or Kalashnikov rifles, AK-47. You see soldiers on the borders. You see soldiers in the army. They are always with the guns protecting the country. So in the time of Shakespeare, cannons were used. So cannonballs were fired, and now Shakespeare talks about the soldier. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths. A soldier is full of patriotic fervor. There is a spirit of patriotism, and he feels that he is a man meant to achieve glory through brave deeds. He wants to do something great for his country, and he wants to be remembered by the people and all his near and dear ones. So, the soldier makes a lot of oaths. He makes promises to kill his enemies. He makes promises to wage war against his enemies. He makes a promise to win a war and gain a victory. He makes a lot of promises. So the soldier's life is a very active life. A lazy person cannot be a soldier. So the young hero, the dashing romantic hero, is now turned into a soldier, full of strange roles and bearded like the pard. What do you mean by the word pard? It stands for a leopard. You see, a leopard has a lot of hair on its face and it has whiskers, and the soldier whom Shakespeare discusses grows a beard like the leopard. So the beard is compared to that of the leopard, and with that beautiful, attractive, long beard, the soldier gets a heroic touch. Okay, so he looks like a very, very strong and a brave soldier. He puts on a great personality. He assumes a great personality. Then a soldier full of strange roles and bearded like the pard. He makes a lot of promises. He makes a promise to take vengeance on the enemies, and he also makes promises to make his country great, whatever it may be. And he begins to grow a beard. So that beard is a sign of majesty, a sign of manliness. He tries to impress people with the oaths and the beard that he grows. So this is the second line of the second stanza, the next stanza. Jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel. Jealous in honor. He wants to have great titles for him. He wants people to call him as a brave man. He wants people to admire him. He wants people to emulate him. He wants people to follow him, emulate. Jealous in honor. He wants to kind of be in an honorable position. And he feels jealous of, acquiring honor. He sees other people becoming honorable, and he wants to put himself in the same position. Sudden and quick in quarrel. He's a short-tempered man. You see, people who work in the army, the soldiers of the army, sometimes they get worked up. They become tensed, and because of that, they get into some rash action. They commit some rash action. So, if I may put it in another way, it would be saying that a soldier is a short-tempered man. He's quick to quarrel, sudden and quick in quarrel. His actions are sudden. Seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. I had just a while ago I discussed the cannons, During the Middle Ages, when England was at war with some other country, it always had cannons, and the cannons, they were very powerful, Balls used to be fired from out of the cannon. So seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. So the soldier is in charge of a cannon, and he wants to kind of fire cannon balls in order to kill the enemy, defeat the enemy, and he seeks a reputation. He seeks a kind of reputation which is bubble-like, seeking the bubble reputation. What do you mean by bubble? You see bubbles floating on the surface of water? They don't have a long life. Bubbles do not have long life. You see them appear for a very short while. So their duration or their time is a very short time. Bubble. One moment you see the bubble, and the other moment the bubble is vanished. It just disappears. Seeking the bubble reputation. Who is seeking the bubble reputation? The soldier is seeking the bubble reputation. It is not a long-lived reputation, but a short-lived reputation. Though he knows that the reputation is a short-lived one, he's striving to achieve that. He's striving to attain that. Seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. So we have discussed two stanzas today. We are moving gradually because Shakespeare's language is very difficult to understand. So it's required that you pay attention to every line, because it's not written in the modern language. It was written in the Elizabethan language. It was written during Shakespeare's time, the Middle English. We call that as the Middle English. So some of the words may be difficult for you to understand. And you just keep these 2 points in mind. The lover, the schoolboy, grows up into a young man and turns into a lover, and he's trying to please his sweetheart, and he does it through various ways. he sighs like a furnace, and he tries to write romantic poems in order to please his sweetheart. The next stage shifts to the soldier stage. The soldier begins to fight wars for his country, and he takes a lot of promises, makes a lot of promises. He grows a long beard like that of a leopard, and he's short-tempered, quick to quarrel, and he is jealous of acquiring titles. He's mad after acquiring titles for him, but all these actions are just like a bubble reputation. A bubble has no life. Its life is very short-lived. In the same manner, the soldier seeks a reputation, though it may be compared to a bubble that is very short-lived. So as we discuss, keep the different stages of man. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. The first stage starts with the infant, the second one. Then from the infant it moves on to the schoolboy, then comes the lover, and finally after that, the fourth stage of a man is that of a soldier. There are another 3 stages left, and we will be discussing those 3 stages in the videos that are yet to come. So keep these things, have a look. Take a look into these points. The lover appears like a furnace. And what is a furnace? It's a place where fire is produced. And he writes a ballad for his mistress. And you know what a ballad is? It is a story written in the form of a poem. And then the soldier, he makes a lot of promises. He seeks a lot of reputation. He grows a beard which is like that of a leopard. And the soldier wants to do something for his country and win honor and titles and reputation. So I hope I made myself clear through these 2 stanzas. In the next video, we will be discussing the remaining stages, but please read the poem very carefully, because Shakespeare's poems are not that easy to understand. So with the explanations that I have provided, you need to kind of sit with the book and go through the stanzas so that you may be able to get a clear picture. So until we meet again, it's goodbye from me now. Thank you, Parveen ma'am.